I lost you once. I think I could do it again. If I thought it's what you really wanted.
Don't get it twisted. I didn't lose you. You lost me. And you'll be looking for me inside everybody that you're with. But I won't be found.
Hi guys. This is a very different video and it's really hard for me to film, but I feel like I have to talk about this just so I can close this chapter of my life and feel like I'm properly moving on rather than just kind of ignoring that it happened. So a few months ago, I was in a very committed relationship. It abruptly came to an end and I feel like I need to talk about this just so I can get my thoughts out properly and coherently, and that if, I doubt you were wondering, but if you were wondering why the promised boyfriend picks my makeup or boyfriend tag kind of video never happened, this is why. So basically between 2019 to 2020 I was on a couple of dating apps and I dated a few people throughout those couple of years. Got talking to this guy on Bumble, and because I started dating someone else, I deleted the app before we ended up sharing our phone numbers. Oh no, sorry, that was on Plenty of Fish. A couple of months goes by and I get back on the dating apps, ended up talking again on Bumble. We never referenced at the time if we remembered each other, but we swapped numbers, talked for a while, and he was very friendly, but I couldn't tell if he was actually wanted to date me, so I ended up having to turn around and be like, do you actually want to date, or do you want to just be friends, because either way is fine, but I'd like to know. He said that yeah, well, maybe I was beating around the bush a bit too much, and we ended up going on a date for a picnic. So we went on this date and it went really, really well. He did ask, do you remember us talking on the previous dating app? And I said I didn't know if you remembered me because I used a different photo, so I wasn't sure if you knew I was the same person, and I explained that I apologised but I was dating someone else, etc. And he was understanding. So we always thought it was kind of like fate that we ended up meeting and talking again. He hadn't really had a girlfriend before. I was his first ever girlfriend, but we dated for like 3 months in 2020. It was very intense, very quickly, and understandably, at me being his first girlfriend, he kind of freaked out and he broke up with me. And it was a shock. It was completely a shock to me because I thought that everything was going fine. Appreciated that it was probably like quite intense, but I did think it was fine. It took me about 9 months to really get over him in a way, even though I never really, I think got over him at the time. But 11 months after he'd broken up with me, so 2 months after I thought I was over him, he gets in contact with me through Instagram. He tried to see if he could contact me for Facebook, but I blocked him because I didn't want to see any of the happy images because I knew it would just trigger me back to the happy place and I'd get upset. We chatted for a little bit and then he asked if he could meet up with me, which we did. And he admitted that he made a mistake, that he acted rashly, that he was just overwhelmed. I was scared because as much as I wanted to leap into his arms and say, yes, I will take you back, I was scared that he was going to do that to me again. I even remember saying to him that if you're going to do this to me again, I can't go through that again. That if you're going to leave me the second things get hard, that I can't do that again. But he promised me he wouldn't, and I took him back. Although quite a few people, when I told them about it, were like, please be careful. We were together again for 6 months. So during those first 2 months, things were going okay. There was a moment where I got really frustrated because, firstly, I have a very intense, stressful job. I take on a lot of responsibility. I try to support the people who work with me a lot, to the point where I end up probably taking on way too much. I don't delegate things because I don't want to overwhelm my team. It's like I would rather be the person overwhelmed than them. And it takes a toll on me. I work long hours. I get very stressed. And I'm human. There was one day where I was stressed out and texted him, because we used to message like throughout the day, every day. I texted him and I noticed that he'd read it and then like 18 hours had gone by and he hadn't got back to me. He worked night shifts, so I appreciate some of that might have been that he'd seen it and gone to bed or whatever, and he'd just get back to me later. But then realising that he'd been online and not text me back, it felt like I was being like ignored in a way. And I snapped at him through text. I'm human. Like, if I get stressed out or whatever, I can be a bit prickly. I said something along the lines of like I didn't appreciate being ignored or something like that. I can't remember. He came over and he thought he was going to break up with me. We discussed it and I said that I really apologise. It's because of XYZ. Like, I do really genuinely try not to be snappy. It's something that I need to continually work on, but I'm human. I make mistakes. I did say, like, you do realise you date women, right? And women have PMS and hormones. You know, we're not perfect. We react to stuff. Like, I literally remember the previous time that we were dating that his sister snapped at him about something and he forgave her, but he was ready to drop me at that moment, even though he'd gone 11 months and wanted me back in his life. He was ready to drop me after that moment, and I think that says a lot, and should have put my red flags up, to be honest. But I was happy to ignore them for him because he meant a lot to me. He was very special to me. He accepted my apology and we were okay for another few months. And then his sister got COVID and I offered for him to stay at mine because he needed to continue working. I think it was only for like a week and a half or something by the time she'd already had a COVID test. So when he was staying at mine, we were getting ready to go to his parents for a couple of days after Christmas dinner to sort of share presents. I was getting ready and he has a bit of OCD and he wanted to organise my kitchen. Wanted the countertop to be a bit more organised. And I said, yeah, it's fine as long as it basically goes in the same place. Everything in that area stays in that area, but just in a different order. That's fine. So he's going and doing all of that, and I see him move something from that area to a completely different area in my kitchen, and I'm like, don't react, just leave it. It's whatever. Then I see him get a thank you card that I never used and stick it in between my makeup palettes. Now, I need to highlight that the day or two before, when he'd said, like, do you mind me reorganising some of your flat? I said, I have no problem with that whatsoever, just do not touch my makeup. My makeup or my shelves that have all my makeup brushes and books and stuff on it, those are the two things I do not want you to touch. So when he put this little thank you card in between makeup palettes, I was annoyed. I didn't say anything. I saw him do it out of the corner of my eye. I was just like, don't react, you can take it out afterwards, it's not the end of the world, just don't react. Then I saw him take some little trinket thing that I'd got for free from a Depop seller or something, and he went to put it again in between some more of my makeup palettes, and I literally just was like, what are you doing? And he looked at me and was like, what? And I said, I told you not to touch my makeup, and also not to move anything from that area into something else. It was all to go in the same area. So I set a clear boundary and he clearly fucking crossed it 3 times, and that was the first time I'd said anything. He was like, oh, well, it's only like this little thing. I was like, I don't care, I told you not to do it. I've also noticed that's not the first thing you've put there either. I saw you put a card there too. And I didn't say anything. He acts all wounded and fucking hurt, and I'm the one who ends up apologising multiple times, and I even offer, do you not want me to go to your family's now? I can, like, stay at home if you want. He's like, no, it's fine. And I apologised profusely over and over and over again. He never once, by the way, apologised for crossing my boundary that I clearly fucking set. He didn't feel like it was necessary. He didn't feel like he'd done anything wrong. But, you know, I'm the fucking bad guy. I'm always the bad guy. Again, a few more months go by and I booked something for his birthday that's coming up in like 2 months' time. And I honestly got really scared because I'd actually told him throughout our relationship that the reason I get paranoid and worried so often, the reason sometimes I don't say things, like if he does little things that niggle at me or whatever, is because I'm terrified that he's going to leave me. I'd said that to him so many times. I was so scared that he was going to leave me again. And I was going to be broken again. So when my mum booked this thing, I was worried that even in 2 months, we may not be together. And then what the fuck am I meant to do with this gift that she's bought? Foreshadowing. So a few weeks later, it's like the week before Valentine's Day, and he booked off Valentine's Day because he'd never had a Valentine's Day with anyone and he wanted to spend it with me, which was a Monday, so I was working, but he was going to stay over the night before so that we could spend the morning together, and then he was going to stay throughout the day so we could spend the evening together too. We went to Lakeside, which is a shopping centre. We were going to buy Valentine's Day cards for each other. I don't know, I can't remember what else we were doing there, but we were, I don't know, having a wander around. And on the drive over, we're about 10 minutes into the half-hour drive, maybe like 25-minute drive there, and he gets a phone call from his mum to say that his nan's really unwell, that she's dying from cancer, and he's clearly visibly upset while I'm driving. So I kind of mouth to him, do you want me to turn around? I can turn the car around. And he says no. So I carry on driving, and when he eventually gets off the phone, he explains to me what happened, and I apologise and ask him if he's okay, and he says it's fine, there's nothing they can do, that he's going to go see her tomorrow. I was like, you sure? Thinking like I can easily turn around. We were only like, I want to say about 5-ish minutes from where his parents live. Like I could have easily turned around, but I think maybe he just needed to kind of process it a little bit. So he decides for us to carry on going to Lakeside. We'd been there for a few hours, had food, etc. Before we go into one of my favourite stores, Waterstones, big bookshop. We go into the toilets opposite, and when I come out, I see that he's on his phone again, and I was like, oh, this is not good. And he was again really, really visibly upset, and he was told that his nan had just passed away. I hugged him, and I think both of us were just kind of in shock. We didn't realise it was that bad, that it had gotten to that point. We thought maybe like she was ill, but she had like maybe even a few days to a week kind of thing. So his car was actually at mine, so I couldn't even take him directly home. Although I did offer, do you want me to take you to your parents? He said no. Again, he needs to kind of process what's going on. He drive us back, and on the way back he's getting call after call after call from his family. Like, we're stuck in traffic, so I felt really bad because there's nothing I could do. Eventually we got through the traffic and I got us back to mine, and I was expecting him to go home or go to his family's immediately. He says that he's gonna hang out mine for like an hour and then go. Again, I think he just kind of needed to sit and process everything without people calling him constantly. To sit and watch like an episode of something, and he goes. And he had work the 4 following days, so I didn't see him, but that's expected. And I didn't really hear from him either. We had like a couple of trickles of text messages, but that was kind of expected because he was grieving, he was struggling, and he needed his space. I don't know if he still works this, but he used to work 4 days on, 4 days off. So he had Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday off, and he also had Monday off for Valentine's Day. So he had 5 days off. And the first day he normally sort of recuperates from sleeping or whatever. I know grieving is very different for every single person, but for me personally, if I'm grieving or if I'm struggling, I want the person that I love the most in the world to be by my side, even if it's just for a hug. It's just any kind of support they can give me. The second I was able to, that's what I would personally do. But I know every person's different. I know that in my mind, I really do. So the first day comes and goes of his 5 days off. Something I forgot to mention, this happened in our previous relationship that we were together, and it happened in this relationship. Like I said, he would work 4 days on, 4 days off. And it was always his decision when he would see me. It was always me waiting around. Is he going to turn up today or is he not? Yeah, I was always on his time clock, and I'd mentioned that in the previous relationship and even in this relationship that it affected me. Like it was like I was being picked up and used whenever he wanted me, and I'd never got a say in the matter. To the point where the week before Christmas, he had all these things he wanted us to do together, and it was my last week of work for the whole year, and I was so stressed out trying to fit in all of this time with him and all of this stuff that he wanted to do, as well as like trying to make sure that my job was covered before I went off for the rest of the year. And when I got frustrated that week and had to cancel, he wasn't not understanding, but he wasn't supportive. It just wasn't nice. It felt like for the whole relationship I was just kind of, it was like I was a second thought, you know? Whereas he was always my first thought. So when week came before Valentine's Day, and the Thursday had come and gone, and then the Friday, he basically made clear that he wasn't seeing me that day. So I was like, okay, I assume you're seeing your family this weekend, considering what happened the previous weekend. And he said, yeah, I probably should do the rounds. So I was like, right, okay, so I'm not seeing him this weekend either. Great. So we were meant to spend all this time together for Valentine's Day. I've hardly heard from him this week because he's grieving, and he clearly doesn't want to see me this week. I was stressed that week. I get stressed almost every fucking week from work. It's really, really bad. I basically have panic attacks. And that week, because I didn't have my partner to support me or talk to, I was leaning on alcohol. So I put the connection together a while ago. The alcohol, especially the day afterwards, and especially if I lean on it, it affects my depression really, really, really badly, to the point where it's pushed me over the edge to cut again. And I was getting to that point that week because I hadn't spoken to anyone. I snapped at him on Friday because I got frustrated that I hadn't seen him for like almost a week, that we'd hardly spoken, and like I said, I was really depressed. And when I get really depressed, I push people away. I literally try to burn the bridges so that I stay depressed for longer. That's what my brain does to me, and that's what I did to him. The following day, when I was still really depressed, but a little bit more rational, I did say to him, look, I think you need some time to think about things. For me personally, I find it strange that you're not finding solace in the person that you are meant to love, that you don't want to see the person that would support you through anything, that you feel like you need space from that person. When I'm not in that depressive hole, I completely understand that everyone deals with stuff in their own way. Some people need their space. At the time, I just felt so isolated because I was dealing with my own shit. It wasn't the right way to deal with it. And no, it wasn't. But I'm human and I make mistakes. I said to him, I think he needs to take, the weekend to think about things. And I actually, believe it or not, I actually knew this was coming. I packed his stuff away. I went through all of our washing because he used to stay here so often. Some of his clothes and stuff were in the washing machine. I got his birthday present that I'd fucking pre-ordered a month early, and I got that out. I put the picture of us that used to be by my bed away. I was prepared for it. The next morning, the day before Valentine's Day, I voice memoed him because I'd kind of like come through the dark cloud of depression that morning. I said I'm really, really sorry about the way I acted, that I was struggling, I was really depressed, but that I still loved him and that I'd really like to see him if he still wants to see me. A few hours later, he texts back just saying, I'll be over in an hour. By the way, that morning, because I'd sort of woken up from the haze, I pulled his stuff back. I unpacked it all. Bar the washing stuff, I unpacked everything and put it back in its normal place. And when he turned up with the same bag he turned up with the last time to pick up all of his stuff, and he knocked rather than using the key that I'd originally given him. He wasn't actually going to give me a chance to at least talk to him before, which would have upset me even more, to be honest. if I hadn't at least been able to share my piece of what the fuck happened. I explained everything, and I said that I don't understand why we can't just take a break from each other for a few weeks, and then if we don't miss each other, then we can, you know, we can just stay apart. He wasn't interested in that. He wasn't interested in that the previous time either. And I tried to say, like, after all that time, that 11 months, he wanted to get back with me because he missed me that much. Every time I'm not perfect, that's what it felt like. Every time I snapped or was depressed or, you know, I just was human. It was so easy for him to just leave me. It was so easy for him to just throw it away. And I don't think I'll ever understand that, because it always felt like to me that it meant a lot to my life. You know, technically we were only together for 9 months. Our relationship had spanned like 2 years. Yeah, I tried to say to him, why aren't I good enough? And the truth is, I don't think I was ever going to be good enough. I don't think he was ever going to accept me with my flaws. I don't think he could. Someone who loves you, can see past your flaws, can accept you for everything. I loved him so deeply. And it still hurts to think about, clearly. When I said to him that I'm human, I make mistakes, and I'm sorry, he said that he hopes I get help because I need it. What a condescending thing to say. He didn't once take any responsibility for his mistakes throughout our whole relationship. He said that, you know, he had to walk on eggshells the whole time because he was scared the next time I was going to snap. Forgetting that the whole time we were together, I was terrified he was going to leave me. That I was scared to plan trips together. Like, we had spoken about going to Iceland together so I could see the Northern Lights and he could go snowboarding. That we both wanted to go to Japan. But I was never going to book anything because I didn't know if we were ever going to be together long enough to actually have that trip. And I never ever want to live like that again. I don't think it's fair. I'm sorry that he felt like he was on eggshells, but I don't think it was fair that I had to be careful of everything I did or said in case he was gonna, like, drop me like a hot potato. And he proved I was right. I had to make this because I've spoken a lot over the last like 2 years about this person. I really needed to make this to sort of close this chapter of my life. I used to think that I would never find anyone that would compare to him. And don't get me wrong, I still think he has a lot of special qualities as a person. But if someone can't accept me for me, it's going to make me live in a toxic environment where I have to be terrified and paranoid that I'm going to get thrown away at any point. I don't ever want that again. I think I deserve so much fucking better than that. I don't deserve someone who's going to treat me the way I think I should get treated. I saw like a video on Instagram of like relationship advice from two people who I think had clearly been together for at least 30 years. They look like they were in their 60s, possibly even longer. And they said that the best advice I can give you is that you don't put in 50-50. Because if you put in 50%, then you expect your partner to put in 50%. You each put in 100%, because then you get 100% of each other. And I thought that was so important. Thanks for listening. I won't be making videos like this a lot, I hope. I'll find someone who deserves me at some point. I know I will. Thanks for listening, and I hope to see you soon.